Testing for flexibility is important because it indicates to the coach as to whether the athlete can carry out the hurdle movement the way that they should. If they're not flexible, then adjustments have to be made to technique to allow them to get over the hurdle. Once the hurdle is above crotch height, then the hips have to rise. But until that happens, then the foot does not have to be raised above the hips. I'm going to test Miriam now to see whether in fact her heel can come up above her waist with the knee that she is kneeling on is behind the hip. If it's not behind the hip at takeoff, then there is not full drive across the hurdle from the takeoff leg. You can just hold my there. Now Miriam is her hips are square and the knee is behind the hips. Now the foot has got to come up without the body going back. Now that is a good stretch. Miriam will be able to, in that position, go across the hurdle without having to raise the hips high. The next position, this should be tested firstly with both legs. Try the other leg. And if a recording is made of the result, then there can be a progression of flexibility recorded and see just what is improving. With Miriam, there's very little has to be improved in this direction. The second position is in the hurdle position. Put it there. Okay. And the first test is to see whether, in fact, the head can be put down close to the knee. The next position is where the head goes towards the trail leg. And in both positions, Miriam is very capable of hurdling. The minimum position that I require is for the head to be close to the ground. Now that's the measurement which is taken. As far as Miriam is concerned, the reading is 0 because her head can hit the ground. Again, it's best to test with both legs. The measurement taken to test the flexibility in this position is from the lowest point of the glute, which you get the athlete to hold, there, to the ground. And that's recorded. And after a series of stretching, then it's measured again, possibly in about 5 or 6 weeks' time. James in this position is not as flexible as Miriam. Now if I try to raise the foot up, then the hips go back. So his position, it means that if he's going to get over the hurdle anywhere near in that position, then his hips, his clearance of the hurdle is much greater. He has to go up in the air. Now the measurement, again, is taken from the lower section of the glute to the ground, and this is over nearly 35 centimetres. An ideal, of course, is that it's 0, but even if it's down to 4 or 5 centimetres, then he could be in a good position to hurdle from in this particular plane over the hurdle quite reasonably. We test both legs. Again, hold it there. The lowest point of the glute, extend it out, and again on this one, again it's 33 centimetres. Now in the the hurdle position, the first test is to whether the athlete can sit in that position without being supported by a hand. And at this stage, it is quite difficult. The stretch over the knee, again, it shows quite a lack of flexibility, and over this knee, again. In the centre, put two hands, one on top of the other. See if you get the head down to the knee. That's about the minimum position that you would want for hurdling. The distance from the ground to the forehead, in this case, is 43 centimetres. Now that's an indication that James would not be able to hurdle with a good hurdling action. He'd have to compensate for going much higher over the hurdle so that he's got a reasonable balance when landing. So the flight time for James over a hurdle is going to be considerable unless the hurdle was extremely low.